All right, we got a whole day of mock draft analysis lined up for you here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I am your host, Dan Bespris. This is a solo show, this morning's episode. You can follow me, by the way, on social media at Dan Bespris, DanBesbris. The new website, Old Man Squad. That's the social handle, Old Man Squad. But all are welcome. I've had this question before. Does that mean you have to be an old, grumpy man to be a part of the Old Man Squad? No, absolutely not. All are welcome. You just have to draft old men. And then I guess old women once we expand into women's sports as well. But no, you don't have to be a grumpy old man to be in the Old Man Squad. It's up to 968. The Old Man Squad Twitter feed, Hunt for 1,000. It's on. And by the way, it'll follow you back. Please take a moment to like, rate, and subscribe as we get the party started here on this lovely Friday morning, as I now give you a little bit of background on what we're doing here. This is the results of a Josh Lloyd mock draft that was run yesterday, Thursday on the 15th. Many of you have probably already seen the results of this mock draft. They're floating around. I typed some of them up. Josh had a great show on them yesterday right after we finished up the draft. I was able to sit and watch it. Rare for me. I had a babysitter that was dealing with my two lunatic children. And there was a very funny part during Josh's show where he was talking about a couple of guys he was thinking on, and then I took both of them. So anyway, he and I'm sure, are going to yell about it later this afternoon. That show will be late afternoon Pacific time. That'll be with Josh. Right now, this morning's show, just me. We're going to be going through the results, which I'll throw up on the screen for you YouTubers here. I know it's impossible to see that right now. I will zoom in. I promise. This is the whole board, should you want to pause and look around right now. My plan here is to basically go through roughly the top 50 on kind of a one-by-one. And then after that, similar to what we did with the real draft results on yesterday's show, then we'll go through and I'll just give you guys basically my favorites and my least favorite from each round. And in fact, the more I think about it, I guess we could do that the whole way through. No, let's go through some of the big names at the beginning because it's always interesting to see where the experts take folks. Here are the names. I'm going to zoom in now so you guys get a better look at it. Here are the names of the teams involved. I'll try to show basically like the top and bottom half of each round. I got to get my zoom right here. How do I do this without screwing everything up? There we go. That's pretty good. So I actually landed the number one pick. Mike Catron was the second pick. Josh Lloyd himself, the host, was the third pick. Matty G is fourth. Scott Keller, fifth. Dan Titus, yesterday's guest on our show, was the sixth pick. Alex Barutha, seventh. Poppy Roy Ciruela, he's the eighth pick. Adam Stock, the ninth pick. Raphael Johnson, the 10th. Adam King, the 11th pick. And Karan Talwar is the 12th pick on the turn. So let's go through the first two to four rounds, something like that. We'll see how time goes here, and I'll try to do my best to make sure folks that are watching have a good look at it, and then obviously folks that are listening will just read off the names to you and thoughts as we go. I had the number one pick. You guys know I'm going Nikola Jokic there. I realized that Victor Wembanyama is the other choice at one. I didn't go down that path yet because you go Wemby, you're attacking blocks hard. And you guys know me, my strategy in fantasy is typically to attack percentages hard. And very few players across the board help you in those categories more than Nikola Jokic, who's a monster at field goal percent in particular. He is not quite as strong at free throw. He was only at 82% last year. Joel Embiid and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are going to be sort of your biggest boppers in the combined percentages avenue, but I had faith that I could collect some free throws in the next second or third rounds, and so I went Jokic. So you get a nice start in points, not massive, but a solid one. Great start in boards, great in assists, solid in steals. Not a terrific blocks guy, especially picking up a center, but you can make up for it later. And then outstanding field goal percent. And 3 turnovers is not a low number, but with 9 assists, that's not a bad start there either. Not surprisingly, Wemby went second. Luka Doncic went third. We'll talk to Josh about Luka later on today. If he has any concerns, I know the Mavs schedule just came out and they've got a 2-game playoff week. So does that impact his draft position at any point? I don't know is the answer, but we'll ask Josh that on our afternoon show. Shea went fourth. I believe Shea is more like the number 6 guy on a per game basis this year, but I also think fourth is probably where he should go because of the guys that then go behind him. You can't trust most of those dudes to make it through a year healthy, especially not with a per game number near what you'll get out of Gilgeous-Alexander. So that's why he's fourth. And that's why I'm okay with it, even though I think ultimately he does have a little bit of slippage this year. And in watching Josh's show yesterday, it sounds like he and I agree on that one. Anthony Davis went 5. That seems to be where he's going in drafts this year. Giannis went 6. That's fair. That means that this team is now likely going the south direction on free throws. And then you get into the real screwball stuff, not as though Anthony Davis at 5, it doesn't kind of start the screwball. At 7, Barutha went Tyrese Halliburton, which I don't know. I keep going back and forth on Halliburton. I don't know that he's a first rounder per game. He may end up as kind of like Jason Tatum, but guard version, meaning first rounder who folks expect will make it through a season in one piece. But, high assists, good percentages dude instead of Tatum, who's typically higher scoring, more rebounds, decent enough in the percentages, but not quite as strong as Halliburton there. And both guys have some 3-pointers and so forth. So you're like kind of picking assists versus rebounds. These two guys probably profile as end of first round, beginning of second round per game. But there's so many freaking massive question marks in here. And with Halliburton, you do get that very firm assists start to your package without ruining your turnovers. And it gives you a really interesting avenue now because you can go the assists route and still win turnovers despite maybe going kind of guard heavy. That's a rarity. Typically, if you go high assists early, you're going to take a hit in the TOs, and Halliburton doesn't really do that. I still think I probably lean a different direction here, but I understand. Tatum went right after. Same general argument. Tatum per game, probably a little bit worse. I've got Tatum down around 15 again this year, off a finals run. They won the title last season. So I don't think his body is going to hold up for all 82. He played 74 games last year. I think that might be the high water mark for this coming season. So I'm not big into Tatum in this spot. But also, these guys are really hard to pick from. Joel Embiid went next to Adam Stock, who was our guest on Wednesday's show. And this is where I think I'm going to end up getting myself screwed often. I'm going to end up with like a 7th pick, choosing between Halliburton, Tatum, Embiid, Durant, Trae Young, Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell. Like, this is a brutal, brutal decision to have to make. I don't think there's a right one. I don't know that. I mean, there'll probably be a wrong one if somebody doesn't make it through the season, but I don't know that we know specifically what that is today. But Embiid here at 9, I don't know how you don't go Embiid at 9. An opportunity to get potentially the number 1 overall player in the 9 slot. But boy, you put your whole season on the line if he only plays 40 games again. Ugh. Games Cap Roto, I would go Embiid here all the way. I'd probably go Embiid at 6 in Games Cap Roto. Head to head, how do you pass over Embiid for someone who's might finish with like a half of his per game value? Because that's basically what Kevin Durant was last year. I know that seems insane to say, but Embiid's positive impacts last season were basically double Kevin Durant, who was also very, very good last year. That's how powerful the Joel Embiid impact is. That said, if you're in a head-to-head league, maybe you just go Trae Young here at 9 and say, look, I'll go the kind of Halliburton route, but light. I'll go similar assist numbers, but weaker steals, weaker field goal percent. Probably more points and more free throw. But look, ultimately, Halliburton is going to be your better choice in a 9-category league. If he's not there, you go Trae Young and just go guard build at 9. That's not crazy. Roto, I'm probably going Kevin Durant here. I mean, if Embiid is not there. If Embiid is there, I'm probably going Embiid. If he's not there, I'm probably going KD because he's going to be mid to high 20s in scoring. You get some rebounds, you get decent assists, you get decent steals, you get decent blocks, you get decent threes. I think his percentages could actually be even better than last year, which would thrust KD back into that sort of 8 to 10 range instead of number 11. I don't care that Bradley Beal might be healthier this season. This is still freaking Kevin Durant we're talking about. But again, with head-to-head, it's tough, man. Anyway, KD went at 10 in this draft. Then Trae Young at 11. Steph Curry went at 12, which is quite reasonable. Steph's it doesn't make any sense to me. Steph's pre-rank on Yahoo. Oh, did it move today? No, he's at 14, so it's not that far off from where he's at. I don't think he slips to the second round very often. Like, you get to 12, I don't know how many teams are really going Ant or Sabonis over Steph Curry, but maybe they do. And if they did, they'd probably take him at 13, the very next pick anyway. So whatever. Steph, this is probably where Steph is going, and I'm good with that. I like him in this range. I'm a big fan of Steph at the end of the first, beginning of the second this year. Donovan Mitchell was the pairing with Steph Curry. I am extraordinarily concerned about Donovan Mitchell's ongoing health. But obviously, of all the guys left on the board, there's really only one dude that I think has a higher per game finishing rank than Donovan Mitchell, the guys that are left. That guy is Kawhi, who also has a really big injury risk attached to him. So roll the dice, I guess. Take the guy with the big per game upside, or do you lean safer with someone like a Domantas Sabonis, who's probably going to be around number 30, 25, 30 per game, but he'll probably play 75 games again because dude's a freaking horse. I'll tell you who I'm not going, and that's Anthony Edwards. I don't want him in the second round. He's a 30s range dude in 9-cat. I get it. Many teams are punting turnovers in head-to-head. I don't think you have to, so that bumps him up about a round. But getting to the beginning of the second round is on per game is damn near impossible. I would rather have Devin Booker here, who probably takes a small step back season over season because I expect Bradley Beal will do more. They've got Tyus Jones in to play point guard, so assists will be a little bit harder to come by, but he does have a safer floor, and you guys know I love percentages, and, well, Booker went next here. Scotty Barnes went with the 5th pick of the second round. That's 17. I can do the math here. I'm okay with that. Kind of hoping that Barnes falls towards the back end of the second round, but I also realize that might not be the case, so that's fine. LaMelo Ball, who you heard from Dan Titus on yesterday's show, he's moving up the board, ladies and gentlemen, the next round. We got, by the way, I'm just bothered to check the chat room. Don't worry, Red, I see your post. Where the hell was I? Got distracted by my buddy Rhett Bauer. LaMelo Ball at 18 here. This is where he's going to go. He's not going to fall towards 30. Titus told us yesterday that the next Yahoo board is going to have LaMelo probably about a round earlier in pre-ranks. So if you want him, expect to have to do it in the second round. I don't know if I have the stones for that. Chet Holmgren at 19. I don't really want Chet Holmgren this year. I'm a little worried about what Isaiah Hartenstein is going to do to his potential growth. He has a lot tied up in that blocks category. And I get it. There's some value in that, but it's a little bit of that kind of Miles Turner type value where it could evaporate quick. I don't want to have so much tied up in one thing. And so frankly, I really like the guys behind him here. James Harden went to my Pop-Tart pal, Scott Keller, at 20. Harden at 20 is I love it. Kawhi Leonard at 21. He'll go deeper than that in public drafts. This is an expert draft, so not surprisingly, Kawhi went a little earlier. Yeah, I mean, you price it out a little bit. He's going to be probably top 5, top 6 per game this year, but then the health is a big issue. Kyrie at 22, similar issue to Kawhi Leonard. Once you get into the 20s, I think I'm okay taking Kyrie. I don't think I want him before 20 this season. LeBron at 23, he just continues rumbling along. Same old LeBron. It appears to be ageless. And then I ended up with Dame at 24 and Markkanen at 25. I was pretty thrilled to get Dame at 24 because in my eyes, that's kind of about as bad as it's going to get for Lillard, which was last year at about 22. There's a chance he gets a little bit better. Is there a chance he gets a tiny bit worse? I guess, but the floor is directly beneath him here. It's really nice to be able to draft a player basically at their floor. And that, I think, is kind of what I got with both of these guys. Now, Utah obviously has the shutdown risk with Markkanen. I can't ignore that completely. But also, I had a lot of people in my mentions that were like, Larry Markkanen is going to play 55 games because Utah's tanking. I will remind you all that Markkanen played 66 games the year before when Utah was also tanking. Y'all don't know. Y'all don't know how many games Markkanen's going to play this year. Rhett, by the way, in the chat room says, do I have steals blocks concern after a Jokic Dame Larry Markkanen start? Yes, by the way. My team ended up with a serious lack of defensive stats after the first 4 rounds. I decided I was only going to fix one of them. And many of you will see which one I opted to fix as we go through it. But I couldn't pass up Dame, who could push into the early part of the second round with a better year. I couldn't pass up Markkanen, who's an early second rounder per game to begin with. I was also able to create this wild, like, I have great scoring. I have great threes. I have solid rebounds. I have good assists. I have excellent percentages. Dame obviously is going to weigh down field goal percent, but Jokic more than makes up for that. And I got a ton of threes on good field goal percent. My team is a free throw behemoth. And so I'm sort of staring down this, okay, steals are pretty weak. Actually, I would say steals are very weak right now. Although Jokic 1.4 out of the center spot wasn't too bad. Markkanen was at 0.9 last year. I don't know if I believe that'll stick. Dame was at 1. So it's like, it's not great, but it's not horrible. Blocks were looking pretty weak because I got a center that didn't really block shots. So I felt like I could kind of go 2 different directions here, and it was going to come down to who was near me when it came back my way. I'll talk more about this on the afternoon show with Josh Lloyd. Jalen Brunson went at 25 or 26, excuse me. I still think he sees a pretty good drop-off this year with actual living, breathing teammates. Brunson, by the way, last season was number 30. I feel like a lot of people forgot that because the last 2 months he was number 20. But when he had teammates around him, he was more like a 30 to 45 range dude, which is still very good. But I think he's being drafted basically above his ceiling right now. Freddie VanVleet, Josh got him. Josh is taking my old dudes here. I love VanVleet in the 3rd round. No criticism. JJJ at 28. Good math, Dan. Mathing. I don't know. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm too nervous on JJJ. I'll get my block somewhere else because maybe he comes back and he ends up being hyper elite in blocks. It just scares the bejesus out of me. Paul George, 29. That's very reasonable for him. Tyrese Maxey at 30. I'm actually totally fine with Maxey there. I keep seeing him go. I mean, the Yahoo pre-ranks have him at 19, which is way too high for me, but mid-3rd round is totally fine there. Şengün at 31. That's a play I'm okay with if you're punting free throws. I don't know that I see him getting there if you're not eliminating his worst category. Cat at 32. I don't think he's ever getting back that high again. Bam Adebayo at 33. Pretty safe, but again, maybe a little bit above his ceiling. De'Aaron Fox at 34. That's totally fine there. He'll take a small step backwards this year with DeRozan and maybe the steals coming down, but that's fine. Cade at 35, probably a bit of a punt turnover play, and that's fine because Adam King's got Trae Young and Domantas Sabonis, so he obviously doesn't give a flying you-know-what about TOs. So Cade fits totally fine there. And then DeJounte Murray at 36. I'm pretty much not drafting Pelicans unless CJ McCollum falls to me at like 90. Otherwise, I don't really want anything to do with that team right now. Jalen Williams at the start of the 4th round. He's at 37. I mean, this is a pretty good spot to get him. If he falls into the 4th round, which is where he's going in Yahoo leagues these days, he's an outstanding value. And that, by the way, is what Rhett was commenting on a few moments ago. Not to get ahead of you, but I can't not comment on J-Dub at 4-1. Yeah, he's a stud, man. Banchero at 38. No, thank you. Evan Mobley at 39. That's fine. Ja at 40. I mean, if he fixes his free throws, I guess. I'm probably not doing the Ja experiment, though. Siakam at 41. No, thank you. Jalen Johnson at 42. That's a good spot for him. Bane at 43. That's a good spot for him as well. Derek White at 44 is, I'd say it's early, but like, I mean, he did it last year. He was number 28. Porzingis out. There's sort of no reason to think he does less. I guess the only fear is, dude was in the Olympics, went to the finals. That's a lot of basketball. So it's a health fear, I suppose. Still, I don't know. I think you can get Derek White in the 5th in a lot of drafts. So maybe a little bit of a reach, but it might actually still work anyway. Jared Allen went at 4-9, and that's fine. This is later than he's going on Yahoo. This is more where I would want to take Jared Allen, which is a little bit closer to 45-50 instead of 35-40. Jaylen Brown goes to Josh at 4-10. That's pick 46. His free throws were so bad last year. I've just soured on Jaylen Brown. But I get it, though. If his free throws are even a little bit better, he jumps right back into that 50 range. Jimmy Butler, that was kind of who I was hoping for at this point, although I realized my team was old and broken down. But, I mean, hell, you got to 47, almost made it to me, but Catherine got him at 47. So I went Jamal Murray at 48 and Rudy Gobert at 49. And that kind of answers the question of, Dan, are you worried about your defensive stats? And the answer was, well, with one of those, I just kind of felt like I had to do it. Jamal Murray was number 33 per game last year. He's another good percentages guard. He offers scoring, which is going to start to dry up here pretty soon. Jamal was at 21 points a game last year. Rebounding, meh. Assists were solid again at 6.5. You put that with Dame's 7 and Jokic's 9, and I have a pretty good assists start. Not hyper elite, because Markkanen is not huge on the whole passing thing. But now I've got 4 guys that all averaged 20 points or more. Jokic was at 26 last year, by the way. That was really high for him. I don't know that he gets that high again, but Markkanen 23, Dame was at 24, Jamal Murray's 21. So I'm in good shape there. Murray gives you another 1 steal, which, again, I don't have like a really, really good one, but I'm still in the mix there. And Jamal Murray actually blocked 0.7 shots a game. I wouldn't expect that to continue. That wasn't what I was banking on. But again, saving my field goal percent. The guards that are not, Dame is a low field goal percent guard, but Jamal Murray, good field goal percent guard. Markkanen, good field goal percent despite hitting a ton of 3-pointers. And then Jokic obviously picks up a lot of the trash in that department. But at this point, I'm realizing that with my next pick, I got to get a defensive stat. I can't be middling to bad in both of those. So that's why I went Gobert, which I realized tanks a little bit of what I was building in free throw percent. But I do feel like I've built up enough clout there that it should be fine. And if you just go based on last year alone, Gobert's negative in free throw percent was actually matched by Dame's positive. So right now, basically just pull those 2 dudes out and see what my team looks like in free throw percent. And it's still decent because Jamal Murray is solid. Larry Markkanen is excellent with free throws, 90% on 5 a game. Dame was 92% on 7 a game. And then Jokic, again, is a small positive in that department. So I'm still good. I'm no longer like running away with it. But now I have blocks. I didn't before, but now I do. I got 2 blocks a game out of Gobert. Put that with the kind of okay number that you get out of Jokic of 0.9. You get none really out of Dame, not many out of Markkanen, and like more than average out of Murray. And suddenly I'm not good at them, but I am competitive again. And field goal percent is now once again a beastmaster. This is about as far as I wanted to go on a 1-by-1 basis. I will remind you guys that are watching, listening, and midway through the show, please take that second just to pause and like and subscribe. Please take that second. Stop what you're doing. If you're on YouTube, like. If you're somewhere else, please hit that subscribe button. On YouTube also, this is the big stuff. Each time you hit subscribe on Apple, on Spotify, it bumps it up the board. More people can see it. Each time you hit it on YouTube, it drops into one of those little sidebar recommended things. I can't tell you how many people over the last 3 days have been like, Dan, I had no idea where you were now. And they're finding it because I'm doing more shows, but it's because you guys are hitting that like button. It's because it's dropping into the recommended feed that now they're able to find it. All right, so 5th round, I took Gobert. I'm just going to start reading the names through at this point, and I'll give you guys my favorites. Gobert, Ayton, Tobias Harris, Wagner, DeMar DeRozan, and Jalen Duren. That was the first 6. Back 6 of the round, Darius Garland, Devin Vassell, Miles Bridges, Miles Turner, Emmanuel Quickley, and Zion Williamson. Those are, again, picks 49 through 60. A lot to like here, actually, in this round. Tobias Harris going relatively early. We'll talk to Josh about that later on. He stole my dude. DeMar in the middle of the 5th round, I think is going to be a pretty easy win. Devin Vassell late in the 5th round is relatively fair. I don't know that it's like a massive win, but it's a fair one. I like Miles Turner in the late 50s. I think he becomes a value again here. And then Emmanuel Quickley, who we talked about on the Rhett Bauer show earlier this week, falling towards 60 instead of 50. I think that actually makes a really big deal in my mind. And maybe I'm forcing the numbers a little bit, but getting him near 60 feels so much better than 50, even though they're not separated by all that much. So I like Quickley there. I think that's late enough for him. I think Miles Turner becomes a value at this point. And I like DeMar DeRozan. Those are probably my favorites of the round. Ayton scares me a little bit because he's probably going to miss 20-plus games. I like DeAndre Ayton, but I like him in the 80s where Yahoo's got him. Darius Garland, if you're not punting turnovers, is rough here. Although this team has Halliburton, LaMelo Ball, Şengün, and Garland. Halliburton turnovers not too high, but LaMelo's they're going to be through the roof. Şengün's going to have a bunch as well. 6th round. Let's read them. Let's read 6 and 6. Nick Claxton, Vooch, Brandon Miller, Zach LaVine, Drew Holiday, and Julius Randle. Mikal Bridges, Brooke Lopez, Anthony Simons, Isaiah Hartenstein, Terry Rozier, and Mark Williams. Favorites of this round would probably be Mikal Bridges. I like him mid-6th. This is, back where he was getting drafted when he was in Phoenix. So probably had a similar role to when he was in Phoenix. And that was when he was able to kind of blow past that mark on efficiency. So I like Mikal Bridges in the 6th round. I don't like a ton in this one. Not even sure I like my own pick all that much, although I guess at least it's 72. I will explain myself. My least favorites of this one, Terry Rozier at 71. I mean, I don't even know what the hell he's going to be doing this season. Simons at 69. His fantasy game just isn't that robust, and there are the risks associated with it. This is too early for Brooke Lopez at 68. He's a guy you want to get in the 80s or deeper. Julius Randle, if you're not punting things, is rough here. Drew Holiday, this is too early. I think this is a bit too early on. Well, I guess, no, this is okay for Claxton. It's a little early on LaVine for me because I have no idea if he's going to play or get traded. There's a lot of risk associated with that. And frankly, it's a little early on Brandon Miller for me also. I wasn't a big fan of this round. As far as my own picks here, at the end of the 6th, beginning of the 7th, I took Mark Williams and Bradley Beal. For Beal here is fine. I mean, he was top 30 second half of last year. Even if he doesn't shoot that well, if he's healthy, he should be able to coast towards that 50 mark. Mark Williams at 72, I'm getting a lot of heat on. And I don't care, man. Hit me with your heat. Because when Mark Williams was healthy, he was a monster last year. He was top 60 with room to grow. He just, the back went out, and then he just sat for 60 damn games in a row. I don't think he misses 60 ball games again this year. I like that he's a big man who's not a disaster at the free throw line. If he's healthy, that'll shore up more of my defensive stats. Beal is also decent defensively. I think I got some pretty good values here. I know that there's some injury risk associated with it, but honestly, I'm not that concerned about it. I think this is a year where he plays. All right, let's do the 7th round, excuse me now. After Beal, because I had the first pick of that round, it goes Keegan Murray, Josh Giddey, Kyle Kuzma, CJ McCollum, Jabari Smith Jr., and then Brandon Ingram, Kobe White, Jalen Suggs, Jalen Green, OG Anunoby, and Jordan Poole. Favorites of this round. I like my own, obviously. That's at pick 73. So the next 8 picks are all in the 70s as well. Whew, this is pretty early on a lot of these dudes. Not a huge fan of this round. I think Poole at 84 might be my other favorite pick of this one. Yeah, this is oof. I do not like Anunoby this early. I don't like Jalen Green this early. I don't like Kobe White this early. I don't like Jabari Smith Jr. this early. I don't like Kuzma this early unless you're doing some punting. I don't really like Giddey this early, although at least there's some upside there. I'd rather get him around late. I don't like Keegan Murray this early with DeMar DeRozan around. I don't like this round. I don't think we all did well here. 8th round, Tyler Hero, Cam Thomas, Trey Murphy, Amin Thompson, Michael Porter Jr., and Yusuf Nurkic. And the other half, Austin Reeves, Alex Caruso, D'Angelo Russell, Jakob Poeltl, John Collins, and Jonathan Kuminga. Favorites of the 8th round. I love D'Angelo Russell there. He was a guy I was hoping that would fall to me at the end of the round. His pre-rank on Yahoo is about 20 slots earlier than this. We are now pushing into the 90s. This is where I wanted to get D'Lo. Didn't think I have any chance to do it, but here he goes at 83 or 93, excuse me. That's an easy call. It's an easy yes. I like Reeves at 91. I like Michael Porter Jr. at 89. Cam Thomas at 86, I think, is reasonable for points. I don't think he's going to move much beyond that, but I'm fine with it. And I think those are the ones that I like. My own pick was meh with Kuminga. But again, I'll explain myself a little bit more on the show with Josh later on today. Ones I didn't like in this round, Caruso is a little early for me. Nurk is a little early for me. I think he's going to get pushed a bit more this year by Mason Plumlee. And Thompson is too early here. Hero is there's too many. If everybody's upright in Miami, there's not a lot you can do there. And then again, I'm mostly avoiding the Pelicans this year, although I think Trey Murphy at this part is probably fine. So he falls in the I'm okay with it department. 9th round, I got my dude, Jonas Valanciunas at 97. Oh, I was thrilled about this one. I can't believe he got to me at 97. I think this is a big win for me. One of my favorite picks of the round, obviously, is my own. I actually didn't like my Jonathan Kuminga pick very much, but whatever. Scoot Henderson, Ivica Zubats, Daniel Gafford, Walker Kessler, and Herb Jones. Love Zubats here right after, pick 99. I think he's going to have a good year. Gafford and Kessler at 100 and 101. I'm fine with those. Second half of this round is Middleton, Cam Johnson, Clint Capella, Derek Lively, Onyeka Okongwu, and Alex Sarr. I do not like Okongwu until we see what's going on with Capella. I mean, Okongwu's pre-rank on Yahoo is in the 160s. That'll probably come earlier. I don't think I would spend a 9th rounder on him here. You can still get a dude that's going to play legit minutes every day. But I do want Okongwu. So therein lies the rub. I want him. I just don't want to have to take him in the 9th round. I would like to take him in the 10th or 11th. Clint Capella is a very safe pick in this range. Middleton, I was kind of thinking would go farther down the board. I don't really want to deal with the headache that is Chris Middleton. If he's going inside the top 100, he's just outside of it in this one. But if it's more like 120, I'm into it. Because you're seeing it here. Like, we're right around the point where guys who play dry up. 10th round. We got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We got 5 rounds to go. Hustling our way through here. Again, please remember to like, rate, and subscribe. Oh, reminder to follow on social, especially at Old Man Squad. I think a lot of you guys probably follow me already, but follow Old Man Squad. That'll get you updates on when shows are dropping and things like that. Yes, lip smacking good time. Where the hell were we? Porzingis, first pick of the 10th round. I don't want to sit on a dude for half a season, but 10th round, oof, you almost have to there. Dyson Daniels, Chris Paul, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Draymond Green, Marcus Smart, Keontae George, Mike Conley, Jeremy Grant, RJ Barrett, Colin Sexton, and Bobby Portis. I did not like my own pick of Bobby Portis here. Again, I'll explain myself in my second show today. Picks that I liked in this round, I I was aiming for Colin Sexton, actually, and he went right before me. I was also hoping Mike Conley would get there. He did not. Draymond Green in the 10th round is a reasonable play. I think Bogdan Bogdanovic is pretty good. Chris Paul, I'm mixed on. 10th round, I'm fine with it. So I like Chris Paul here. Dyson Daniels is another guy I'd like to have on my team, but I would hoping to get him in the last 3 rounds. Picks I don't like here. Porzingis, I think the team, if you actually had to sit on an injured dude for 2.5 months, your team would implode unless you have like 5 IL slots because other dudes are going to get hurt. I also have no trust in Marcus Smart. I don't trust Keontae George to figure it out fast enough. I think he'll get better as the season goes on, though. I don't want anything to do with Jeremy Grant. I don't know. I mean, I've had a couple people tell me that they believe in RJ Barrett now. Titus yesterday, and then Josh drafted him here. So maybe I should soften my rage. Maybe not. 11th round, Tyus Jones. I started it off with, felt like I needed to get a point guard. Klay Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis, PJ Washington, Denny Avdia, and Naz Reid. Honest to goodness, I kind of like all 6 of those. Klay Thompson's a better fit for a games cap format where you can deploy him every time Luka or Kyrie's out, which is going to be regularly. But when those guys are in, I don't think Klay's going to do very much. The rest of these guys are solid. Kelly Olynyk, not a big fan there. I mean, I am a big fan of Kelly Olynyk, but he's behind Jakob Poeltl, so it's just not going to be that much fun. Brandon Pajemski, Mitchell Robinson, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Shaden Sharp, and Zach Edey. I think I'm okay with the Mitchell Robinson play here. That one's got some legs because he's sort of unfettered center run. I am a little more bearish on Pajemski than most, but late in the 11th round is totally a fine spot. And then I don't know about the rest of these dudes. Taylor Hendricks starting off the 12th round. Kello Ware to follow Sar Thompson. Sorry, I get ahead of myself. Jeremy Sohan, Norm Powell, and Jaden Ivey is the first 6 of the 12th round. Most likely to be inside the top 100 of these dudes is probably Norman Powell. But I don't know. We're basically out of useful players now. Okay, so it's not like I can point and go, yeah, I wouldn't do that. Because what are we talking about here? We're at pick 133, right? There's nobody left. This is full bleeping Hail Mary zone. Are any of these guys going to be useful on the first day of the season? Probably Norman Powell. But how useful? Top 100? Top 110? 120? The rest of these guys, I don't know that they cracked the top 150 to start the year. But again, what are we talking about here? Second half of this round actually had a couple of names that I was interested in. Andrew Nembhard went, and then Al Horford, who's going to have a really good first half of the season. Gary Trent, who I think could range into that 100 area with Milwaukee. Malik Monk, he'll be a little bit of a punt type guy, which makes sense for head-to-head. I'm probably not doing a ton of Monk with DeRozan in town. I think his role gets a little bit smaller. Dante DiVincenzo, and then KCP was my pick here. I actually felt like I just needed a 100 range guy that was going to be upright all year. Honestly, because looking up at the top of my team, there are going to be weeks where Markkanen's out, where Mark Williams is out, where Beal is out. I'm going to make sure I need to have somebody. I need to draft somebody here that I know I can just leave on my team all year and not really think about it too much. And no upside, really, but KCP's that dude. But I figured as long as I was going KCP, the minimal upside plotter, I'll go with someone who maybe the pieces fall in line, and that's Dennis Schroeder, who has a terrible fantasy game, unless you're punting 3 things. But if the Nets continue to blow things up and get rid of Dorian Finney-Smith and get rid of Cam Johnson, and if pieces keep moving out, then all of a sudden Schroeder's going to have to do a bunch. So this is a pick more on what could be as opposed to what is. Stephon Castle went right after that. Karlo Matkovic after that. Bub Carrington, Donovan Clingan, and Aaron Gordon. I don't know, man. Clingan probably does the most of the young dudes there. Aaron Gordon, he's a punt dude. I don't know that any of these dudes is going to be relevant. Malcolm Brogdon, that's a really good pick, actually. He could actually have top 100 value. Zachary Reese-Shea, Reed Shepard, Josh Hart, D'Anthony Melton, Ben Simmons. I think Melton and Simmons are your best flyers there, because if Melton plays his way above the other Golden State others, there's a shot at value. And if Ben Simmons isn't dead, there's a shot at value. Is any of this going to hit? Probably not. Brogdon's your closest before they shut him down or trade him. And the last round, Noah Clowney. Again, there's a shot if Brooklyn clears some bodies out. Markelle Fultz, no thanks. Jonathan Isaac, that's a Games Cap Roto play. He will be, by the way, my last round pick in a lot of Games Cap Roto formats, but not head to head. Tari Eason was going to be my last round pick, but I think this is Adam Stock who took him. Daniel Tice, maybe you get Olympics Tice. He may be the starting center for the Pelicans. That's not a bad pick in the last round. Karis LeVert, you'll drop him. Grayson Allen, he was awesome last year, but Phoenix got deeper. So is he going to just get run? Doesn't sound like it with Tyus Jones starting, but you never know. Bazelis, no thanks. Vince Williams, he's not going to play much with Memphis healthy again. Andre Drummond was my other guy that I was going to take in this last round. Josh took him. So he and I can fight about Andre Drummond on our later show. Drummond's a great handcuff because he's going to play 17 minutes a game regardless, because Sixers they cannot play Joel Embiid 33, 34 minutes a game. You just can't do it. His body will decompose on the floor. Like, you'll just see limbs drop off of Embiid as he's lumbering up and down. And he played 34 and a half minutes a game this last year. That's an absolutely horrible idea. That's got to be a 32. Is Nick Nurse going to figure that out? Maybe not. He tends to overplay guys. But the nice thing about Drummond is that he can post some fantasy value in 16, 17 minutes a ball game. It won't be great, but it'll be, 8 points, 8 boards, 9 boards, a steal, that kind of thing. What you're sitting on with Drummond is the Embiid missed games. And they're going to be 15. They're probably going to be 20. There might be more than that. I adore Andre Drummond as a games cap type. Well, I got to move my face. You guys can't see the last 2 picks on the screen. Adore Andre Drummond as a games cap handcuff, because you drop him in for those 20 games Embiid misses, you're going to get top 50 production out of Drummond for 20 games. That's huge for games cap formats. Head-to-head is going to be a little tougher because you're going to have to deal with the bad free throws, and, 8 points, 9 boards, or whatever you're getting at him is really not good enough by itself. But there are a lot of nice arguments on Drummond. Trey Mann went as the second to last pick in the draft. I'm not going to do that much in Charlotte. And then I took Bojan Bogdanovic in the very last pick. Again, this is really more about what could be as opposed to what is. Right now, he's probably a backup wing for Brooklyn. But if they move one more big wing, Finney Smith, Cam Johnson, Bojan Bogdanovic probably ends up starting at that point. Which, am I saying that's a good idea? No. But when he gets in there and starts, he's a 20-point per game guy with almost nothing else. There were a couple other weirdos that I had my eye on at the very end of the draft, but this pretty much summed up the whole board. So that's the draft. Let's take a look at what everybody was thinking in the chat room. Let's see. 13 back-to-backs for the Celtics. League low. Big Daddy Horford, says Aaron. That's right, baby. You can game plan on Al Horford trying to get to 69 basketball games this year. But again, I'm more worried about how many back-to-backs he's got in the first 3.5 months, because after that, I don't know that you even need to roster him anymore. You get what you get out of Horford. Last 2 rounds kind of guy. Just collect, October, November, December, probably January, and then game plan for not having him after that. But maybe Porzingis gets delayed. He doesn't heal quickly. Maybe you end up getting 4.5 months out of Horford, or 5 months, or whatever it is. Gravy. 55 games for Lowry seems overdramatic. Yeah, I agree. It is overdramatic. It's what he played last year. And to me, that's way below what I'd expect. Even shutdown teams, those dudes usually get to around 65. I would game plan for Lauri Markkanen to be around 65. If it's worse than that, it's worse than that. If it's a little bit better, it's a little bit better. But this is an early second rounder on a per game basis, and you can probably get him in the third. I took him at the beginning of the third round because that's the pick I had, but you could probably get him 5-6 slots later than that. That's a huge per game jump, just built in, basically. DeJounte and Jalen Williams at the turn, says Red. I promise I wasn't in the draft. Yeah, Red, are you Karin? Yeah, I don't believe you that you're not. It's true. Aaron says, I need to have J-Dub with all this hype, so probably using pick 32 on him might be a bit high, but doubt he stays for 41. Yeah, I'm extremely concerned that we're going to price out Jalen Williams here because literally every analyst we've had on the show, myself included, has talked about how much we love him at 41, 42, meaning the next Yahoo board, don't be surprised if he's in the 30s. Don't be surprised if his pre-rank is like 35. And then it's going to be this godforsaken positive feedback loop, which ends up killing us. So he goes, this is what happens. The first board comes out. Jalen Williams is at, what the hell do we just say? 41, 42? It's 42. Everybody's like, I love him at 42. Okay. Everybody starts taking him in the late 30s. Next board comes out. He's ranked in the late 30s. Now he's 38. People are like, you know what? I still like him. And then you feel like you got to get out in front of it. So they start taking him at 35. The next board comes out. His pre-rank is 35. This happens every 10 to 15 days over the next 2 months. Suddenly his pre-rank is 30, and we've ruined all of our fun. Well, we still have a little bit of fun right now, even though our good buddy Dan Titus says, look out for a board reshuffling later today or tomorrow. How much time we have left? Rowie says, is taking KD at pick 7 or 8 justifiable to me? Yeah, I'm okay with that. Honestly, and I'll scroll the screen back up for those that are watching. Like, basically after the top 5, 6, 7, any one of about 7 guys is fine. Like, I think I'd probably rather go Giannis and punt free throw than go Kevin Durant. I'd probably rather go Giannis than, just thinking about this draft, the way this draft went was probably where I would go with Giannis. If you have the 6th pick and AD comes off the board already, you probably go Giannis and punt free throws. But after that, and frankly, you could even include Anthony Davis in that mix if you really wanted to, but it does feel like he's a sort of a half thread above the other guys. But you've got Halliburton, Tatum, Embiid, Durant, Trae Young, Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell, Domantas Sabonis, Anthony Edwards. You could extend it to probably LaMelo Ball once this board reshuffling comes out. There's 9 or 10 guys that you could make an argument could all just rearrange themselves. You know me, I personally prefer to keep Edwards and Sabonis down near the bottom because they don't have the same per game potential as some of these other dudes. But, Sabonis is a guy who's elite in a few things. He's more buildable for head-to-head. And yeah, I'd probably rather have KD, like if you started to do some head-to-heads between all these guys, like, head-to-head, KD versus Donovan Mitchell, probably go KD. Seems more likely to play 65 games. KD or Steph Curry, probably goes KD. Steph Curry or Donovan Mitchell, probably go Steph. Trae Young or Steph Curry, I truly don't know. Head-to-head, you probably go Trae. Roto, you go Steph. Embiid versus any of these dudes. Roto, Embiid. Head-to-head, the other dude. Jason Tatum versus Steph Curry. Tatum? Younger? Tatum versus Kevin Durant. KD, better per game? Like, there's so much in there. So the short answer is yes. All of this is reasonable. Given your team build, given format, all that kind of stuff. And Matt says, this is the content I live for. Great work. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you guys. I really do. I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you all for tuning in to another one of these things. There's just like the growth every other day is pretty sweet. My wife, every couple of days, she's just like, how's the new thing going? Just to try to figure out if I'm going to be in a good mood or a bad mood that day. And this week, I've been able to say really, really, really good. The listenership numbers have been amazing. The YouTube page, has had over 1,000 downloads each of the last 2 days, which, like, I know, leaving an established thing and starting a brand new one, it does pain me a little bit to think about, like, there were days where we were getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000. And so it's a mere fraction of that. But, a week and a half ago, it was like 70. And now it's over 1,000. So basketball's back. And I'm so grateful to all of you guys for your continued support, for clicking the thumbs up button that bumps this into the recommended sidebar. Please do that now, because that's how people are figuring out that I have a new station. And then new people are finding it. You can hit me up on Twitter at Dan Vespers or at Old Man Squad. Please follow both if you are not already. For those that are watching on the YouTubies, I will zoom out so you guys can see the entire board while we're doing some wrap up here. Quick wrap up today. Since we're already 50 minutes into the podcast, quick wrap up. We will have one more show, as I mentioned, later on today with, yes, indeed, the host, the main man, the guy who hosted this mock draft, Josh Lloyd, @RedRock_B-ball. He and I are going to go through our own teams from this mock draft. So you'll hear me talk about all of my things. You'll hear Josh talk about his third pick. Hey, there's our buddy Adam Stock, Elite Fantasy Basketball. You guys should be checking his out if you didn't do it from when I told you earlier in the week. Thanks, Adam G. Stock. He had the 9th pick in this draft. Well, maybe we'll do a show where we go through his team. Or you guys know I do my industry roto mock usually late September. Oh my God, there's so much stuff to cover. I love it. It's so much better to talk about fantasy basketball right now than it was 1 week ago. It's truly remarkable what those Yahoo Leagues opening do for the fantasy community. So again, Josh and I, we're going to record that show around 2:00 my time. I will probably run that show about 3-ish hours later. And then my hope is that I can finally knock out 1 or 2 of the team preview things we've been sidelining over the weekend. But this is the time of year where I'm going to try to get weekend shows to you guys as well. Because, quoth the great Marshall Mathers, you only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to take hold of the fantasy community. We got about 2.5, 3 months where people are truly paying attention to fantasy basketball before everybody sort of settles in for the year. So you're going to get maximum Dan. Adam says, Amen Thompson was too high. I agree. You guys want to see Adam's team while we're talking about it? I'll zoom in on it. He has got a good one. He went Embiid in the first. Booker. I mean, how do you not go Embiid at 9? Booker in the second. Love that one. Bam, safe third. Ja, sort of a saucy fourth. Miles Bridges. You guys know I'm basically not drafting Miles Bridges, but he's going to be fine here. Levine, Suggs, Thompson, Clint Capella, Bogdanovich. Everybody's super sour on Bogdan. I actually really like him this year. Love Mitchell Robinson in the 11th. Sohan, Reed Shepard, if anybody opens up in Houston. And then I love Tari Eason as the last one. If he's healthy, Eason is going to have one of the first cracks at the bonus minutes in Houston, and he's a rebounding steals behemoth. Adam says, we're trying to punt threes, went so-so, need more steals early. Let's go back up to the top. You guys can see what Adam was talking about. Yeah, Embiid gets you a couple. Booker, not many. Bam, none. Ja, not many. Miles, not many. Yeah, you can see first 5 picks, not really much in the way of threes. But yeah, kind of low on steals. Suggs makes up for some of that. He'll have a bunch. If Amen plays, he'll get you some. Yeah, all right, that makes sense. I mean, you could go 2 punts in head-to-head and still live with it. Wish I could just, throw Adam onto the screen now real quick. But it's 54 minutes into the show. We're going to wrap it up. Again, we'll see you guys later on today with Josh. And then, again, we'll do some team previews most likely over the weekend. And then if the board shuffles again, which it sounds like it will, we might do a quick deep dive on that. I don't know. There's going to be something basically every day. Finding content right now is the easiest thing on planet Earth. I'm Dan Vespers for Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I will see y'alls in the little bit. Toodaloo.